Hey folks, I'm Shrey from Socket. Socket recently announced Plugin. Plugin is Socket's official widget, and using this widget, you can enable a seamless bridging experience in your DApp. This serves as the perfect onboarding flow for your users into the multi-chain world and can be integrated into your DApp in a couple of minutes. So let's explore how you can use Socket plugin and also add customizations to make the experience even better for your users. But before we get started with Socket plugin, let's explore what Socket is, how you can integrate Socket into your DApp. Then let's focus on Socket plugin, which is the widget, and then how you can integrate the widget in your DApp. And then let's do a demo of the integration. I'm currently on Socket's docs, which you can find at docs.socket.tech. Diving into what is Socket. Socket is an interoperability protocol for secure and efficient data and asset transfers across chains. Socket is not a cross-chain app or a bridge, but an infrastructure which enables building such use cases. Socket's interoperability stack has two layers to it, the data layer and the liquidity layer. The data layer enables secure transfer of messages across chains. Using the data layer, a smart contract on chain A can perform read and write operations on a smart contract on chain B and vice versa. The data layer is a work in progress and is currently in its testing phase and will be live soon. If you're interested in knowing more about the data layer, do reach out to us on Discord. About the liquidity layer, Socket's liquidity layer is live. It enables secure and efficient transfer of assets across chains. It unifies liquidity across dexes, bridges, and shows users the best routes for bridging token A on chain X to token B on chain Y based on the user's preferences such as security of bridges, the time that it takes to bridge, and the cost of bridging. Let's explore the different ways in which you can integrate Socket liquidity layer in your dApp today. You can use Socket plugin, and we'll dive deeper into how to integrate the plugin in just a little bit. Or you can integrate using Socket APIs. Socket APIs allow users to request codes for bridging token A on chain X to token B on chain Y. These codes are highly customizable and can be customized based on slippage, the destination recipient address, and certain bridges and dexes can also be whitelisted based on the preference of the user or the dApp. The next is linking Bungee. Bungee is an interface built on top of the Socket liquidity layer by Socket. You can link Bungee in your dApp and you can pass these URL params to pre-configure the tokens and the chains and also the amount, such that when the user is redirected to Bungee, they can start their bridging journey in just 2 clicks with all the other metadata pre-selected. Last but not the least, you can integrate using the Socket SDK, which is built on top of the Socket APIs. By the time this video is out, the docs for the SDK should be live in our documentation, which you can find on docs.socket.tech. Now let's dive deeper into Socket plugin. Socket plugin lets you accelerate your multi-chain roadmap and provides users a 10x better onboarding experience. It does this via optimized bridging routes. Also has support for all the 9 chains that Socket is currently deployed on and will have support for the new chains that Socket will be deployed on in the future without any additional integration overhead for you. It enables users to start bridging from any token they have on any chain, and the plugin also has support for Socket's Refuel feature, wherein let's say users can deposit Matic on Polygon and easily get ETH on Arbitrum. This ensures that users always have gas and can immediately interact with your dApp. Here's why developers love Socket plugin. It's open source, it's easy to integrate and only takes a couple of minutes. At Socket, we deeply prioritize security. Hence, in the widget, you can limit the number of supported chains, you can whitelist bridges for the routes, and you can curate your own token list with tokens that you trust. And the widget is highly customizable and you can customize it to match your branding. Here are some protocols in the space that have already integrated Socket plugin. We have Synthetics, Premia, DH, and a bunch of other amazing protocols that are currently working on integrating plugin. So let's get you started too. Sockets widget is a React component that can be easily integrated into any JavaScript, TypeScript, React, or Nest.js project. The widget supports most features from Bungee Exchange and it brings the seamless bridging UX from Bungee to your dApp. Integrating the widget is very easy and only takes a few minutes. You just need to pass the provider from user's connected wallet and socket's API key and you're all set. Additional props can also be passed to further customize the widget, such as the widget's color scheme. You can also limit the number of chains supported on the widget on your app. You can also pre-select certain chains and tokens, and you can also pass your own token list. We'll see how to do all of this in a bit. Let's start by integrating Socket Widget into a simple React project and see how easy it is to add a custom bridging interface to your DApp and onboard your users into a multi-chain world. So to get started, let's create a simple React project. I'm going to do it by running npx create react app and I'm going to call my project Widget Demo. I've already created a React project, so I'm going to skip this step. Here's the React project that I've created and I've added some boilerplate code to get started. Let me walk you through this code. So here's my app.tsx file, and over here I have a bunch of variables defined. I have a use effect hook over here that basically checks when the chain or the account on MetaMask has changed. I have another function over here that fetches metadata such as address and provider from the wallet, and another function here which is responsible for connecting to the wallet. It checks if the window.ethereum object exists, and this object is injected into your browser window by in-browser wallets such as MetaMask, and if it exists then it fetches the provider, the signer, the user address, chain, and so on. So I've written custom wallet connection functions over here, but if you're using a library such as web3 react or web3 model or rainbow kit, then you can continue to use those, and all you need to do is pass the provider from these libraries into socket's bridging widget and you're good to go. Further down here, I have some styling and a header component and a bridge component. In the header component, we have the name of the DApp and also the wallet connection button. And once a user's wallet is connected, it will display the address of the user. Then we have the bridge component. This is the component where we'll be importing sockets widget and initializing it. So let's get started. These are the docs for the socket plugin, which you can find at docs.socket.tech or plugin.socket.tech. You'll also find these linked in the description. Let's head over to the Quick Start tab. We first need to install the package. You can use npm or yarn for that. I'm going to use yarn in this video. While the package is getting installed, we can initialize the env file with socket's API key. So I'll quickly do that as well. I'm going to add the public API key that you see over here. But when you're going in production, do get a dedicated API key from us. You can get a dedicated API key by heading over to Socket's v2 API docs and requesting an API key via this form. This will also be linked in the description. So once the API key is set, we can now import the bridge component. We first need to import the bridge component from the widget package. Then we also need the provider. In this case, my provider is defined in app.tsx, so I'm going to pass it as a prop in the bridge component. So I'm going to pass the provider over here and also import it here, and we are good to go. We can now initialize the bridge component. So I'm going to do that over here. And first we need the provider, which I'm going to pass right here, and we also need the API key. So I'm going to define a variable here called API key and going to set it to any, and I'll import the API key over here. Oops. Alright, we can now import the API key, and that's it. The widget is all set. Let's take a look. As you can see, the widget has now appeared on the UI, and we can connect the wallet, and once the wallet is connected, the provider from the wallet is passed into the widget and the user's balances are loaded. But before we get to that, something doesn't feel right. The theme of the widget does not match that of my DApp. So let's go ahead and fix that first and look at all the ways in which you can customize the widget. We can head over to the widget docs to the customization section, and you'll find all the ways in which the widget can be customized. The first is having selected sending and destination chains and tokens. By default, the widget supports all the networks and all the tokens, but let's say we only want a few chains and few tokens. We can do that by passing dest networks and source networks as props, which are arrays of chain IDs of the networks that we want to add support for. Let's say on the DApp, I just want to add support for Polygon, Ethereum, and BSC as my sending tokens, and Optimism and Arbitrum as my destination tokens. We can do that by adding source networks as a prop and then passing an array with Ethereum's chain ID, Polygon chain ID, and BSC chain ID. Likewise, Dest networks will be another prop and will pass the chain IDs of Optimism and Arbitrum. We can go back to the DApp and refresh the page, and you can see that the networks have been limited to the ones that we passed. Let's say we wanted Ethereum as the default sending network and Arbitrum as the default destination network, and DAI on Ethereum as the default sending token, and DAI on Arbitrum as the default destination token. We can do this by passing default source network and default dest network as props. So default source network would be 1, which is Ethereum's chain ID. Likewise, default dest network would be 42161, which is Arbitrum's chain ID. And we would also need to pass default source token and default dest token, which would be the address of DAI on Ethereum and likewise the address of DAI on Arbitrum. I already have these addresses found, so I will just copy and paste them, but you can choose any token that you would like. So this needs to be passed as a string. Likewise, default dest token would be DAI on Arbitrum, whose address I already have found. If I go back to the DApp and refresh, I'll see that Ethereum is the default source chain, Arbitrum is the default destination chain, and DAI is the default sending token and the default destination token. But let's say I wanted a custom token list. By default, the widget uses Bungie's token list, but let's say I wanted to pass my custom token list. We can do this by passing a URL, which is an array of objects, and it should have all of these parameters in each object. For example, we have a token list here by Uniswap, and we can go to the token list to see the format. So it's an array of objects with all of the tokens regardless of chain ID. So all of the tokens would go into the same array. So let's go ahead and pass this token list and see what happens. Let me refresh. And alright, we are now using Uniswap's token list. But let me go to BSC and it says no tokens over here. This is because Uniswap's token list does not have any token on BSC. So what do we do here? We can add a custom token list by passing an array of objects. Let's say I just wanted to support DAI on Polygon, Ethereum, and BSC, and I wanted to support DAI on Arbitrum and SUSDC on Optimism. In this case, I can pass a custom token list like this. So it's DAI on Ethereum, DAI on Polygon, DAI on BSC, DAI on Arbitrum, and SUSDC on Optimism. I can pass this token list in place of the URL and it will load that up. So let's replace this with the array of objects and let's go ahead and refresh. We can now see that DAI is the only token on all of these chains. And on the destination side, we have SUSDC as the only token on Optimism. Let's go ahead and see what else we can customize. We can also customize the styling by passing a customized prop with all of these parameters. We also have a bunch of examples over here. This dark theme in particular really matches the vibe of my DApp, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I already have it pasted over here, so I'm just going to use that. And I'm going to go back to the app and refresh. And as you can see, it's taken a dark theme now and really goes well with my app. We can also customize the font of the widget. We can do this by passing font family as a property in the customize prop. The font that you're using over here needs to be imported in your React app. In this case, I'm using Courier New as my font, which is a font that is supported in most browsers by default. So as you can see, the font of the widget has updated to Courier New. Now, what else can we add to the widget? Earlier, I talked about Refuel, which is a feature by Socket wherein users can deposit native token on one chain and get the native token for another chain. How do we enable Refuel in Socket plugin? Let's explore that. We can do this by passing enable Refuel as a prop, and if we set this to true, we'll see a toggle on the widget. As you can see, now there's a toggle for enabling refuel on the widget. If a user turns this on, then they'll have to deposit some additional native token on the source chain, and in exchange they'll get some native token on the destination chain. So let's quickly walk through and do a demo of the integration. First, we can connect our wallet, and once the wallet is connected, the balances of the user load up. Once that's done, we can choose the chains and the tokens and start with the bridging process. So let's say I want to bridge DAI from Polygon to DAI on Arbitrum. Once my chains and tokens are selected, I can add the amount that I want to send, and I'll get a quote of an estimated receiving amount on the destination chain, which in this case is 6.3 DAI on Arbitrum. And I can go ahead and click on review quote, and I'll get additional information of the route such as the bridge used, the estimated bridging time, the fees, and I can also click on this toggle to get a more detailed view of all the transactions involved in this route. Let's say I also wanted gas on Arbitrum. For this, I can turn on the refuel feature, and it gives you an estimate of how much Matic you'll have to pay on Polygon and how much ETH you'll receive on Arbitrum. Refuel sends you the exact dollar value of the token that you deposit on the destination side. So 8 Matic is approximately 0.003 ETH as of this moment. So let's go ahead and continue. I can once again check all the details of the route, and once I'm satisfied, I can confirm the bridging. And first I need to approve the spending of DAI on Polygon. This might take a couple of seconds. Once that's done, I can continue with the bridging. So let me click on bridge. And in one transaction, both the 8 Matic and 7 DAI will leave my wallet. And on the destination side, I will receive 6.3 DAI and 0.003 ETH. So let's go ahead and confirm the transaction. As you can see, the bridging is now in progress and it will take an estimated of 10 minutes. And you'll see two different status bars for the main bridging transaction of DAI via hop and the refuel transaction. And once both of them complete, you'll see the destination TX hash here. You can also navigate to the main page, and if I refresh the page, you can see that there's one transaction pending over here, and the user can see all of their pending transactions in this modal. And that's about it, folks. In a couple of minutes, this transaction should be complete. We were able to add a custom bridging interface to our DApp in a couple of minutes and onboard our users into the multi-chain world via a seamless bridging user experience from Sockets plugin. We hope this video was useful to you and you got to learn about plugin and how to integrate it into your DApp. We look forward to onboarding you and your DApp into the multi-chain world. Do reach out to us on Discord if you need any help, and see you again soon.